Hi, this is Steve DeMasi, and welcome to UnchartedDIY. Today's project is a DIY desktop vocal recording booth for recording voiceovers. This inexpensive, easy-to-make DIY desktop vocal recording booth sets up in about a minute. It not only improves your voiceovers, it also upgrades the acoustics in your editing workspace when you're not using the booth to record. If your voiceovers and narration sound echoey like this, or muffled like this, you need one of these. Okay, so that might be a slight exaggeration, but clear audio is critical for audience understanding and retention. The point is you don't need an expensive dedicated sound booth taking up valuable floor space or massive amounts of acoustic room treatments to get better quality voice recordings. I'm going to show you why you need one of these booths and how to build it. Comprehensive plans, cut lists, and extra video instructions are available for $5 on my website at UnchartedDIY.com. This looks a bit strange. Does it even work? Here's a comparison of voiceover audio with and without treatment. If you have headphones, you might want to use them for this so you can clearly hear the differences in sound. Using the same cardioid condenser microphone and audio settings, I'll compare the audio recorded in my office studio with no treatment, with my cardboard and foam prototype, and with the DIY desktop vocal booth. Here's what it sounds like without the sound booth. There's a lot of reverberation since my office is small and lined with cabinets and hard surfaces. Here's what it sounds like with the prototype booth. The reverberation and background noise is reduced. It can sound a bit boomy though, since only the high frequencies are absorbed by the foam. And this is the DIY desktop vocal recording booth. Reverberation, echo, and background noise are greatly reduced. It absorbs reflections from the whole range of frequencies found in the human voice. Because there's so much variation in the speakers or headphones people might be listening with, I made a visual of the sound of my hand claps using frequency analysis. The vertical axis of the graph represents loudness or volume, and the horizontal axis shows frequency in hertz, with low bass on the left moving to higher pitch frequencies on the right. I'm not an expert on acoustics, but here's my understanding of what these graphs illustrate. Overall, a less jagged and smoother curve to the waveform means a clearer sound. The no booth graph has a lot of reflected energy, shown by the closely spaced jagged waveform. The reverberation is pronounced. Reflected waves interfere with the original direct sound. The prototype booth shows a smoother response curve with fewer jags, indicating less reverberation. The DIY desktop booth shows a much flatter curve with even fewer jags. The flatter profile means that all the frequency ranges are being absorbed more evenly, so the sound is more balanced. The actual sound of the original clap is distinct from any remaining reverberations, which are much quieter. This graph displays the decay of the hand claps. Decay is how rapidly the original sound dissipates, so a shorter waveform means less reverberation. Why use a desktop vocal booth? Why not acoustically treat the whole room? In many situations, sound quality is actually more important than the images. Most people will forgive flaws in the visuals if the audio is clear, but bad sound can make great visuals unwatchable. Acoustics for voiceover and narration are different from music or even home theater designs, so unique treatments are required. For voiceover and narration, you want the sound to be completely dead and dry, and it should be impossible to hear any influence from the room. This is very difficult to achieve in a working space such as an office or an editing suite. If you do any audio editing or production in these spaces, acoustic treatment is a wise investment, but it would cost a small fortune to render the whole space dead enough for voiceover. That's why traditional vocal booths are used for voiceover and narration. They work very well, but for someone like me that wants great sound, but isn't making a living from creating it, spending thousands on a booth, and finding the space for one doesn't make sense. That's where this booth fits in. It takes minutes to set up, and when it's not in use, it becomes acoustic panels that greatly improve the sound in an office or editing studio. Won't a really expensive mic make my voice sound awesome? Kind of like how a Ferrari will probably not be very impressive on a dirt road, even a super high-end microphone will sound terrible in a space with bad acoustics. The great thing is, even a budget mic can sound pretty nice in an acoustically conditioned space. I'm recording this with a $70 setup, and I'm really happy with the sound. Fix your acoustics before dropping big bucks on a mic. Won't this take too much time to set up? So not only does this booth sound great, it goes together really fast too. Check this out. And like that, we're ready to record. Won't this booth take up too much space? This booth breaks down even faster than we put it together. And one of the great features of this design is that these panels, when they're not in use, can go on the wall in your office or your recording studio to act as acoustic panels to cut down on reverberation and echo. So, how do I fit in this? The design of the booth is really simple. It has one back panel, two sides, and top and bottom panels. The bottom one has a cutout that wraps around your torso so you can get your upper body inside the booth. Finally, it has a sound-absorbing blanket over the back so no sound is reflected back into the mic from the room behind. The top and bottom are wider than the back and sides so that the panels are not parallel to each other. This way, the sound waves don't reflect from wall to wall, creating a standing wave. Now, I know what you're thinking. How am I supposed to read my scripts inside this booth? A small viewport allows you to see your computer screen and record directly into the audio workstation software. This eliminates acoustic reflections from tablet devices or paper shuffling from printed scripts. There's enough space to operate a computer mouse from inside the booth, so you can scroll the script on the screen. The viewport is lined with foam, and the lack of parallel surfaces prevents reflected sound from bouncing off the computer screen and back into the mic. Tilting the computer screen down enhances this effect. This vocal booth is more involved than my quick and easy cardboard prototype. The prototype used only foam acoustic tiles. The result can potentially sound like a microphone in a box. It definitely improved my voiceovers, but I knew it could be even more effective. The DIY desktop vocal recording booth incorporates multiple layers of sound-absorbing material, then a layer of felt, and then acoustic tiles on top of the felt. This results in a much more balanced vocal sound while completely eliminating echo. It's much sturdier than the cardboard version, performs well, looks great, and provides acoustic treatment even when you aren't using it as a booth. It is a more involved build, though not difficult, and takes a weekend to build. If you need to improve your sound right away while you're building the deluxe version, the available plans and tutorial package includes instructions and video showing how to build the cardboard prototype version. Building it takes about an hour and adds about $20 to the cost for additional foam acoustic tiles. It might not replace a dedicated sound booth for professional use, but it makes a huge difference in the quality of voiceover and narration recordings. I want one. What stuff do I need? The name UnchartedDIY might have given away the fact that I do a lot of DIY projects, and so I've gathered a lot of tools over the years. Don't let this list scare you away from making one of these booths for yourself. You don't need to have all these tools to make yours, and you might already have many of the tools and supplies from other projects. The plans and tutorial available on my site have all of these items listed with images, so you can check them off as you gather them. Here's a rundown of the tools and materials I used to make this desktop vocal booth. 1-foot square acoustic foam tiles or panels. I got mine from Amazon. I bought a 48-piece pack, but only used 24 pieces for this project. 1 4x8 foot sheet of 1/5 inch or 5mm sanded plywood underlayment. I had Home Depot cut it down so it was easy to transport. You'll need 3 2-foot by 2-foot squares for the sides and back, and 2 3-foot by 2-foot rectangles for the top and bottom. 6 1-inch by 2-inch by 8-foot pine boards. These are sometimes referred to as furring strips. I bought the cheap stuff since it'll be covered with fabric, but make sure to get nice straight pieces. 1 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch by 8-foot pine trim. Spray adhesive. I used 3M Super 77, but Gorilla or other brands will work too, as long as it says it works on foam. I used wood stain and paste wax for the finish on my plywood panels, but this step is completely optional. A utility knife and a metal straight edge. Scissors. 3 black felt moving blankets. 3 furniture moving pads made from recycled denim. 3/4 inch screws. A jigsaw. A staple gun. A drill driver. A pneumatic brad nailer. You can use screws instead, but if you have a nailer, it makes the project go a lot faster. A sanding block and sandpaper or a power sander. A 4-pack of 3-inch lift-off detachable hinges. Double-sided carpet tape. A tape measure. A saw. I used a power miter saw, but you can use any type of saw that can give you straight and angled cuts. I also used a router to mount my hinges in a customized way, but this is completely optional. I cover this in the plans and tutorial. Wood glue, a hammer, a couple of clamps, a square, gloves, Velcro strips, and sparkly pencils. Optional, but your project may not turn out as well if you use plain pencils. The total cost of materials and supplies will run approximately $130 to $150 if you're buying all new. Okay, I've gathered everything. Now what? There isn't time in this video to cover every precise measurement, details, and instructions. For those of you that would like complete instructions for making one of these, a comprehensive set of plans and tutorials is available for $5 on my website at UnchartedDIY.com. This package includes cut lists, a visual parts list that you can use as a checklist for gathering your materials, detailed plans and measurements, and bonus video modules that go deeper into steps such as staining, waxing, making butt joints, and more. This booth uses 4 foam tile squares for the back, 4 for each side, 6 for the bottom, and 6 for the top. After cutting the plywood to size, sand the panels to round over the edges and make the finished side nice and smooth. Wipe off any sanding dust and then apply stain. I let them dry overnight before applying a couple coats of paste wax. I didn't want mine to be glossy, and the surface didn't have to be tough like furniture would be, so wax was simpler and faster than polyurethane or varnish. When mine are not in use, they'll be hanging on the walls, so I didn't feel the need to be as meticulous about my finish. They do look pretty spiffy though. This is a frame job. The frames are fast and easy to make. You can assemble the frame pieces in between coats of stain and wax for the plywood panels. For simplicity, the frames are made using simple butt joints. The joints are all cut at 90 degrees except for the 22-degree cuts for the bottom panel. All of these joints will be covered with cloth, so they don't need to be pretty. The frames will also be attached to the plywood panels with screws, so they don't need to be particularly strong by themselves. I used a brad nailer and glue to assemble mine, but you could also use long screws and pilot holes for the butt joints. I demonstrate how to make solid butt joints in the bonus video included in the plans and tutorial package, available on UnchartedDIY.com. The glue is strong when dry, so the brads are enough to keep the frame pieces together while it dries. The brads aren't long enough to go through the side grain and into the end grain, so I angled them like a toenail joint. With the main frames built, we can make the opening for the viewport. I used a metal blade rather than a wood blade, since it has small teeth and makes a smoother cut in the thin plywood material. It's a good idea to slow the speed down too, to avoid tearing the veneer of the plywood. I used a straight edge as a guide to keep my lines straight as I cut. Keep this cutout piece since we'll use it to build the viewport attachment. Attach the wood trim, making a frame. I used glue and brads to attach mine, but you could also use screws. For the bottom panel, I used the jigsaw to make the cutout where the panel wraps around your torso. Use the straight edge as a guide for straight cuts. Keep the cutout part of the plywood intact so we can use it to build the viewport. Padding your work can be a good thing. To make the layers, first lay the frames down on the plywood panels and trace the outlines so you know which panel belongs with each frame, whether they face up or down, and which edge is the top. Test all 4 layers without tape, making any needed size adjustments to the denim material so they sit inside the frame nicely. Gaps up to about 1/2 inch around the edges won't affect the sound quality, so they don't have to fit perfectly. Apply the first layer of double-stick carpet tape. The material is light, so you don't need much tape to hold it in place. Add the first layer of padding. The padding can stretch a bit, so you can make fine adjustments as you go. The felt padding goes on the frames next. I'm using my cool cordless stapler, but use whatever staple gun you have. I have links to many of the tools I like and use on UnchartedDIY.com. Place the plywood and padding sandwich down so the padding slips inside the frame. Check the edges to make sure the panel is on straight and even. Then drive a screw into each corner and around the perimeter with about 1 foot in between each screw. Staple the felt onto the frame around the perimeter of the opening. Let's ice this cake. The final step in building the panels is to mount the foam acoustic tiles. This is what the spray adhesive is for. Before spraying adhesive, lay out the foam pattern on the felt. Align the tiles in an alternating pattern so the rows of each adjacent tile is facing the opposite direction. This helps break up potential standing waves where sound bounces back and forth between parallel surfaces. We don't want to be repositioning the foam after spraying it and placing it, so it works best to leave all the unsprayed tiles in place and only work with one tile at a time. Remove a single tile, spray it, then put it back where it was. The tiles surrounding it make positioning it correctly easy to do. With the tiles adhered, we can now remove the foam from the viewport window and the torso cutout in the bottom panel. Keep the leftover foam pieces and keep them away from each other so they don't end up glued together. These will be used to line the viewport. I can see clearly now. The viewport is assembled from the foam and plywood pieces that were cut out from the back and bottom panels. I used my pneumatic brad nailer and glue to assemble the frame, but screws would work well too. Apply acoustic foam to the inside surfaces of the viewport. I had plenty to work with from the cutaway portions left over from the viewport porthole and the torso cutout in the bottom panel. Finally, apply Velcro to the frame of the viewport with the corresponding pieces adhered to the back panel. Staples driven into the Velcro keep it attached with repeated use. This is Steve, and thanks for watching Uncharted DIY. If you build one of these, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, please make sure to like and hit that subscribe button too.